Just want to make sure that this works, so bear with me. Right. Okay, can everyone see the slide deck? Awesome. All right. Well, welcome once again. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we will be covering the fiscal year 2027 out of school time youth scholarships request for applications technical support information session. So first off, we're going to provide an introduction on who we are. So the Office of Out of School Time Grants and Youth Outcomes, also known as the OST office, is located within the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Education, which of course is part of the the Executive Office of Mayor Muriel Bowser. The OST office is a part of a larger network, also known as the Learn 24 network, made up of out-of-school time affiliated government agencies such as DC Public Schools, public charter schools, DPR, and other DC agencies, along with OST providers that support, fund, and/or provide high-quality out-of-school time programs for district youth. Now, a little bit about our vision. So the vision of the OST office is to ensure that children and youth across the District of Columbia have equitable access to high-quality out-of-school time programs. The purpose of our office is to support equitable access to high-quality out-of-school time programs for district youth through coordination amongst various government agencies, targeted grant making, data collection efforts, and evaluation, along with the provision of training, capacity building, and various technical assistance to OST providers. So for fiscal year 2027, the OST office has launched its request for applications, RFAs, for 7 out-of-school time grant competitions for FY27, as you can see here on this slide. For today's technical support information workshop, we are going to solely focus on the OST Youth Scholarships grant competition. So if you are interested in learning about other grant competitions, those technical support video presentations and PowerPoints can be found on our website at learn24.dc.gov on our grants page. So any of these grant competitions here that you see on this slide, other than scholarships, have already had presentations that have taken place, and those recordings are available on our website on the grants page where you first found this RFA. So now we're going to dive into a little bit about the OST Youth Scholarships Program, RFA. So this RFA invites high-performing, fiscally responsible nonprofit organizations to apply for the specific grant competition. Organizations applying must be able to demonstrate a history of supporting scholarship programs. The intention of this RFA is to select one standalone organization that will manage the entirety of the OST Office Youth Scholarship Program from application through selection and finally the scholarship award process. The target population for the OST Youth Scholarship Program are school-age children and youth from grades kindergarten through 12th grade of 21 years of age or less who reside in the District of Columbia and/or are eligible to enroll in a district primary or secondary school, or an individual of 22 years of age or less who is eligible to receive special education services from a local education agency. So even though that young person in these caveat cases might be over 18, they are to be eligible. So they might have not finished school on time or something, and they're still eligible to enroll in school. So, we're not talking about college youth, they've graduated, youth who are eligible to receive these special education services and/or still be enrolled in a primary or secondary school, which is primary education, and secondary being middle school and high school. So targeted youth. So grant funds must be used to award scholarships to youth identified as at risk and who require access to high quality, low or no cost out of school time opportunities. As defined by the Fair Student Funding and School-Based Budgeting Amendment Act of 2013, Section 4A, 2A, at risk means a DC public school or DC public charter school student who is identified as one or more of the following: qualifies for TANF, which is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. This young person might be unhoused and or experiencing homelessness and living in transition. This young person could be in the district's foster care system, or a high school student that is 1 year older or more than the expected age for the grade in which the student is enrolled. In addition, preference for scholarships must be given to underserved youth as demonstrated on the slide here. Underserved youth are youth who are identified as one or more of the following: students with disabilities as demonstrated by an individual education plan such as an IEP. And please note, a minimum of 30% of the total scholarships that would be awarded from this grant should go to students with disabilities. English learners, a minimum of 30% of total scholarships awarded from this grant should go towards English learners. In addition, residents of priority wards 4, 5, 7, or 8, a minimum of 60% of total scholarships that are awarded from this grant should be awarded to youth who reside in wards 4, 5, 7, or 8. And now we're going to talk a little bit about eligibility. Organizations with an annual operating budget of $250,000 a year or greater may apply for this FY27 OST Youth Scholarships Coordinating Entity Grant, RFA. Eligible organizations for the OST Scholarship Program are described as high-performing, fiscally responsible nonprofit organizations. So what does that technically mean? As you can see here, organizations must meet the following components. So to demonstrate fiscal responsibility, you will need to submit your current annual board-approved budget, a current fiscal year profit and loss statement. And examples of both of these are included in the RFA appendix. So the board-approved budget means that that budget must have been approved by your board of directors, and that fiscal year statement must include profit and loss from the most recent year that your organization has been in operation. In addition, you must provide, if requesting over $50,000, any organization with a grant request over $50,000 with a budget that exceeds $250,000 is required to submit an external audit completed by a certified public accountant within the last 2 years. For organizations that do not currently have an audit, the organization must show evidence that an independent CPA is under contract by submitting a letter of engagement from the CPA indicating intention to complete that audit by April 1st, 2027. The audit or letter of engagement must be included within the grant application, and I'll go into where that file will be uploaded in a few. For structural requirements, organizations must have a 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit status declaration letter presented and determined by the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, reflecting a minimum of 2 years of operation as a 501c3 nonprofit at the time of application submission, May 2024 or after in specific. Applicants must submit the 501c3 designation letter from the Internal Revenue Service, and a sample IRS designation letter is available in the appendix of the RFA. Last, organization status must demonstrate good standing with the IRS via 2 distinct years of Form 990, and so that means completed Form 990 filings, not draft filings, but completed filings as they were submitted to the IRS, and with the DC government via current basic business license and certificate of good standing issued by the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection, along with a certificate of clean hands issued by the Office of Tax Revenue. As stated for the Form 990s, these must be completed, signed Form 990s, 990EZs, or 990Ns, or any schedules filed. The basic business license must be currently valid through June 30th, 2027 for school year programs, but in this case, as it is a year-round grant opportunity, August 31st, 2027 for year-round programs. And please note, if the basic business license is due to expire before the end of the program period, the organization must renew the business license when it expires and provide a copy to the OST office. Certificate of good standing and clean hand certificates must be dated within the past year, May 1st, 2025, or more recent. And all those dates are specified in our RFA portal, and I will get into that when we go into actually an overview of what the application process looks like. So now we're talking about program periods. For FY27 grant period, for the purpose of this RFA, it aligns with the district government fiscal year, which is similar to and exactly like the federal government fiscal year calendar, which runs from October 1st, 2026 through September 30th, 2027. Program implementation period can fall slightly outside of that range. So let's talk about a little bit about the timeline for program implementation. OST youth scholarships, which is the reason why you all are here today, are designed to provide district youth access to fee-based programs year-round or that take place during and align with the academic school year as defined by the local education agency calendar. And these should continue throughout summer break. So beginning on or after the first day of the academic school year, and then no later than October 1st, 2026. And then ending no later than the last day of summer break prior to the first day of the following academic school year, which would be August 21st, 2027. Optional years. So while the fiscal year 27 grant period ends September 30th, 2027, the FY27 SCDC scholarship grant, the FY27 scholarship grant is intended to serve as year one of a 3-year grant cycle. That means if awarded, your organization will be subject to renewal for a maximum of 2 additional fiscal years, FY28 and 29, which will serve as option years. As noted here, grant awards are subject to these renewal option years based on the availability of funding, along with meeting the expectations and performance and compliance requirements for fiscal year 27 and for each option year. So it is technically not guaranteed that any grantee would continue, but very likely possible if all goes well with meeting compliance deliverables and grant requirements and expectations. Now we're going to talk about total award amounts. In total, the OST office intends to fund roughly over $27 million in grants in fiscal year 2027. And you can see the allocation breakdown here on the slide. The FY27 OST grant program is by far the largest and most competitive. As you can see, it has the largest funding allocation. For youth scholarships, which is the reason why we are here today, we anticipate funding only one standalone organization with a maximum award amount of $850,000 in total. Please note that a minimum of 80% of such grant funds must go to scholarships, with 20% for overhead. And of course, all grant awards are subject to the availability of local tax dollars, which funds these grant competitions in their entirety. While we do not anticipate any such decrease at this time, the mayor's budget must be approved for the forthcoming fiscal year, as it is essential to ensure that these funding amounts will stand. Okay, and I apologize, this slide, I guess, will change because that's supposed to say youth scholarships. So we'll make sure the correct version is up on the website when submitted. But imagine that says OST Youth Scholarships on the top. Organizations may submit only one application in response to this request for applications, this RFA. Organizations may also apply for one OST direct service grant, if interested, for a total of no more than 2 possible grant awards per fiscal year grant period. So no organization, for your own reference, may receive a combined grant award amount greater than $999,999 in any fiscal year. Priority points. So last, we want to note that there are some priority points that are possible for organizations to receive when applying for this RFA. Priority points will be awarded to OST Youth Scholarship applicants who are an existing grantee across any grant program. The exact number of priority points will be based upon the final FY26 school year accountability rating. And please note that any existing grantee that is underperforming at the end of this school year will be ineligible to apply for this grant opportunity. And now we're going to dive a little into our grant applications to understand the mechanics and the dynamics of how to apply for this grant opportunity. So within your RFA document that you've likely identified, and you should see this on learn24.dc.gov, and thank you for clarifying that. Shanna, I think we've notified to everyone today we are recording. And of course, today's presentation will be available on our website. So as stated, this page here, this is our Learn24 RFA portal. This URL website link is included within the document of the RFA. It's available within our website. And this is the website that you will utilize to apply for this grant opportunity if you choose to do so. So if you are a returning grantee, trustfully, you still have your login credentials. If you forgot your login credentials, your username or password, you can select that blue text underneath the password screen, and then you just click there and select forgot username or password, and then you will follow the prompts to complete the process to obtain new username, password, login credentials, etc. If you are a new applicant, you will need to create a brand new account here on this page, learn24rfa.cspan.com. So once you're in the portal, you'll have several steps that you need to take. First is establishing your organization profile. We'll talk a little bit about that and what criteria needs to be completed there. Then your organization uploads some of those documents we went over earlier, which I will follow back up on. And then your grant application, which you will review and sign off. So the organization profile. So this is where you're including basic organization information, your name, address, tax ID number, along with various disclosures, and certificates and assurances, so such as indemnifications and just assurances that you sign off that if you ever had a grant that was terminated or a contract, or you previously worked with district government in some capacity, in this coordinating entity capacity. So you will want to sign off on these. And as you're completing this section, you will need to save your progress as you go along. So there is a small floppy disk icon. You want to select that as you input various information to make sure it is saved in the profile. Once it is completed and you've continued to save, you can then submit this profile. Then you'll be taken to the organization uploads page. This is where you will upload your organization current fiscal year board approved budget, which we discussed earlier, and there are examples provided within the appendix of the RFA, your current fiscal year statement, which includes profit and loss, and then your audit. In this case, as organizations are required to have annual budgets that exceed $250,000, an audit would be required, specifically if your funding request, of course, would exceed $50,000. 2 years worth of Form 990, the most recent filings, and remember, completed Form 990s, the way they were submitted to the IRS, a copy of your 501c3 IRS declaration letter, your current basic business license, certificate of good standing, and clean hand certificate. Now, within the organization uploads page, you will have small icons that will indicate the year ranges that these documents must reflect. We included those in the previous slide, which you will see when you obtain a copy of this presentation. But just as an FYI, when you're engaged in org uploads, you want to hover your mouse on this tiny little icon. It's an eye icon. It will show you the exact date range for each document. That way you don't have to guess. You'll be guided accordingly. Okay, now we're going to get into the grant application. So for this grant application, it looks a little different than other OST grant applications. For one, it does not include the support and sustainability section. So once you have completed your organization profile and your organization uploads, you will then engage the application. In the first section you complete will be your program description, where you will indicate the grant application that you're applying for. And please note that you must complete each section in this grant application in subsequent order. So in order to access program sites, you must complete program description first. Once you've completed program sites, you will then obtain access to budget narrative. So the program description. So within the form here, you'll specify the specific grant program information, including the selection of the grant competition. As you'll see, scholarships are in here. You'll then apply, accordingly, completing various information indicating the grant type, the grant period, which is year-round, because the scholarships are expected to be administered and awarded throughout the year-round grant period, which includes school year and summer, and the funding request, where you will indicate the amount of grant funds that your organization is requesting, along with applicant contact information, and then measurable objectives that you seek to achieve throughout the program period. So anything you're seeking to achieve there, and also the percentages of the demographics that you propose to serve within this grant period. So as we covered those specific populations of youth, those at-risk populations in the previous slide that must be served with those requirements, 30% English learners, 30% youth with disabilities, 60% youth must reside in wards 4, 5, 7, or 8. You will want to indicate those populations that you propose to serve within this form here. All at-risk youth demographics should be indicated by percentage. And if you exceed those percentages, that certainly is not a bad thing. So now we get to program sites. So this is where you will indicate the type of facility. We have a global sites directory that has been developed and integrated into the system. And being that one organization will be awarded and you potentially cannot determine every program site where every scholarship award will reflect, you want to just select the standalone site that might reflect your organization. Trust release should be indicated here if you are having challenges finding a site that's applicable. And if your organization is awarded, there will be an opportunity to change sites once completing the grant agreement. As well as completing the site location, you'll indicate the number of unduplicated youth to be served throughout the duration of the grant period and the service periods in which the grant will operate, which in this case for scholarships will include school year and summer. I don't know why this deck is pulling up that one, but it seems like it's not sharing the right deck, which is okay. Needless to say, here's now your budget page. So once completing program sites, you will be taken to budget. And so for budget, the most important part at first is to indicate your indirect cost rate. And whether your organization has a NICRA, which is a kind of federal provision. And then you will get to the allocations for each category. And remember that 80% of this grant must include scholarship awards. So the 20% will reflect overhead. If you have any indirect costs, you can indicate those here, or marketing costs, whatever they might be within your 20% overhead. But the majority of your budget will go towards scholarships. At this point, you'll be taken to application sign off. So we strongly encourage you, once you get to this slide here, before signing off, review your application, review the scoring rubric. As you're completing the application, it is the best practice to consistently refer to the scoring rubric. But once you've submitted each section, go back, check your work, maybe get a second set of eyes, make sure you're representing every indicator and criteria of information the way you think best represents your organization in capacity to propose service to be a scholarship award administrator. And then when you feel comfortable, you will then complete the sign off. I always recommend saving first, just like every page. That's that little floppy disk icon I was referring to. Save first, just to make sure, okay, I'm okay. Now I'm ready to submit. At that place, you will then continue to submit. So now we will go into Q&A, and for whatever reason this week, Teams has not wanted to share the exact deck when I plug it right in. So I did just want to impart some best practices. I did mention referring to the scoring rubric. One thing I can always state for any prospective grant applicant is represent your history and breadth of service, your ability to do the work, and your history serving the populations that you propose to serve. And then, of course, refer in reference to that scoring rubric and try to have some sort of proofreading, second set of eyes, or third set to make sure that the application is succinct and fulfills all the criteria that you seek to provide. And with that said, the floor is open for any RFA-related questions at this time. We see hands up. So first question, it goes to Mr. Murphy. Ben?
Hey, thanks for putting together this opportunity. Mark, appreciate all these reminders about the city span and how to navigate it.
Yes.
My colleague Rhoda Brown is here with me also from the Community Foundation. Hey, Rhoda. Just have a couple of quick questions for you. One I think was answered already in your presentation, but just want to make sure. So as we were in the city span portal, the basic business license requirement,
Yes.
so I'm taking our basic business license will expire at the end of September. Obviously, we will get that renewed. Are we allowed to upload our current basic business license that will expire at that time for the purposes of getting to the next stage in the application? Or we reached out to DLCP and they're not able to renew business licenses this far out from our expiration.
Understood. Yes, your current basic business license is certainly applicable, and you can certainly upload that. Obviously, if your organization is awarded, you would then have to submit the current basic business license prior to expiration. Those can be renewed up to 90 days in advance.
Yep.
So your current basic business license, which is active, can be submitted and uploaded. Yes.
Awesome. We will make sure to do that. The second question we had was less of a roadblock in terms of pulling together the application or the program, and it's more just out of curiosity, in terms of the 30% mandated service level around English language learners. We're just curious to know if there was sort of a data set that was used to arrive at that percentage, or sort of what the intent behind that specific 30% threshold would be. We don't think that it would be necessarily a challenge to meet. We're just curious about how that number was originated.
The rationale. Yes, certainly. Shannon's here. Shannon, would you like to provide some
Yeah, I
insight?
can definitely speak to that. Hi. Yeah, so we just it is a preference. Is I think the language of the RFA says that it's that they should be what does it say? It is not a requirement, but that they should be a preferred target population along with students with disabilities. And so we had previously earmarked 30% for English learners. I mean, I'm sorry, students with disabilities, as you are aware, Ben. And so just looking at wanting to make certain that these funds are really targeting those students who we see are underserved in our OST programs. And our latest needs assessment also identified English learners as being very underserved across the district, along with students with disabilities. And so being that this is our second needs assessment to really demonstrate that, the last one being 3 years ago, we decide, and at that time is when we increased the threshold for 30% for students with disabilities. We determined to do that for English learners as well this year, just to really make sure that the scholarships, again, are going towards serving those youth that are underserved in our other grant populations.
Okay. Great, that's helpful. And we did notice the tag in the RFP as well that we should be also responding in terms of a specific outreach plan to that community. So it's actually been a good exercise for us to sort of think about how we're making intentional connections with the English language learner community and providers that are working in that space. So appreciate that context, Shanna and Mark. And no further questions from me unless Rhoda may have some of her own. I'm not sure.
Thanks.
Thanks.
No, I don't have any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Portia. Hi. Thanks for joining. I see you have a question.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all. This was so good and informative. I wanted to make sure I understood which grants we could apply for. So are we able to apply for the OST grant and the college and career grant, or is it coordinating entity and then one of those?
Yes, so well, first off, obviously today we're covering scholarships, but technically an organization could apply for scholarships and an OST grant, but you can apply for an OST grant and a special competition or in this case, or college career prep is a coordinating entity grant in its own. So I'm sorry, because I have my
To be
screen
real,
for
just
that
to
page.
kind of go straight
Yeah.
to what is, will make it clear for you, Portia, I think, is you can apply for OST. It would be OST or small nonprofit. You're not a small nonprofit. So you're going to apply for OST, which you currently have, and any of the other outside of small nonprofit that you would be interested in, whether it is college and career, the community specific coordinating entity, the scholarships, the most DC.
Most. Yep.
So any of those can be your secondary. You can only apply for two, but you apply your general one that you already have is the out of school time. You can apply for any of the other, excluding small nonprofit, because you're not a small nonprofit, as your secondary.
Okay, got it. And I'm sorry, I think I came to the wrong meeting. This one is
It's
about the
okay.
scholarships.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's quite right. You were not. There's some other folks who joined earlier. Well, we can state that the recording from Tuesday, which covered OST grants, most DC, small nonprofit, college and career prep, and community-specific coordinating entity are all included in that presentation, which is available on our website along with that slide deck. So any information there, and of course, questions can be directed to Learn24 RFA at dc.gov with our Q&A closing on May 13th.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, you're quite
I'm sorry
welcome.
about that.
Not a problem, not a problem.
No
That's a
worries.
great question. It's certainly relevant here. I'd say any grant inquiries are relevant.
Thank you all.
Well, thank you. If no other questions, we can break for today, but just want to make sure everyone's comfortable. I know Portia, you obviously going to go in your direction that you find best suits the needs of Tumani and Ben and Rhoda. Rhoda, very nice to meet you, and it's great to hear that you all are commencing outreach to the ELL community. So wishing everyone the utmost success and best of luck with the application process.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
if
Mark.
you all
Thank you,
feel
Jen.
Have a
comfortable,
good one.
you can leave and have a
Thank you,
fantastic
Mark.
rest of your day.
Have a good day, guys. Thank
Have a
you
good day.
all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Take care, everyone.
Bye, all.
Bye, everyone. I'll stop recording. All right, recording is stopped. Karita, you can leave now. You can, bye-bye, Karita. Stop sharing.